Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to the series on how to build threads from scratch. Before we get started, just a reminder, if you go to reactnative.com/threads, the full source code along with the full course will be available. So just check that out if you're interested. So in today's episode, we're going to keep on adding functionality to our profile. So in the last episode, we differentiated between a user and then the profile. Right now it's the same because we only have one user on our platform, but it's two different routes and we could treat them a little bit different. And the navigation is a little bit different too. So see how this one slides in and this one is just the tab. But we want to start adding some functionality. Also, we're not going to want to add this edit profile and share profile on someone else's profile. So we will want to differentiate between the user ID and the person that's logged in, which will be a little difficult since we only have one user, but we'll come back to that later. First thing though, let's add some functionality to these tabs. And I swear, don't ask me why in the last episode, we styled this and it's supposed to show gray if it's not selected and then black if it is selected. I think native one just has a mind of its own sometimes because nothing really changed here. It should just show. And this is not going to show anything right now. I'm going to look into this a little bit later and figure out what's going on. Because look, now, for some reason, now it shows something. But if I just go back and I just save it back to what it was, now it's working. It makes zero sense. I don't understand. But anyway, for this threads, I don't know what replies are. I'm thinking at mentions we didn't get to yet. So we're just going to cover threads and reposts right now because we have both those items. So what we want to do is be able to just show this user specific post. So I just want to have the same feed here, but related to just this user. And so we leverage the hook that we already have. We did run into one bug where because we are joining on users from multiple tables, we have to differentiate between like how we're going to join on this user table. One's going to be on the user ID, the other is going to be on repost user. And this is only going to get more complicated as we move forward because we're going to do at mentions. So that's going to be another reference to the same user table. So one's going to be a mention user, one's going to be a repost user, one's going to be the actual user that posted the post or the thread, whatever you want to call it. And then we had some discrepancies. We still have a discrepancy between these two, the use post and use thread. And just to recap, the use post gets called on this load. So it grabs everything where the parent ID is null. Here, I actually just changed it. I think what we had, this one was .is parent ID is null. And I had filter in there because I was trying to figure out different ways to make this more accessible to different use cases and different pages. That's because we have to use .is to find null values where like we just want to show that where if you have a thread, we only want to show the first item in that thread, and that's where the parent ID is null. And then here we have to use equal. Okay, I want to find this specific post. So use thread gets called, and that's where like the ID of the thread equals the ID of the post that we want to return. And then in here we want to do like posts, like the sub post. So if there's any replies, I think the only one I have a reply on is not that one, this one. So we can see the replies. So that's how this comes into play. But I want to consolidate both of these hooks because as we add more select query on this, there's more likelihood of messing something up between the thread and the home page. And we're going to use it for threads as well. And then we're going to add another key for finding repos. So in order to do that, I hinted at it, I'm going to use filter instead because I can't use equal here. This isn't going to work. If we do this and then reload, it's just going to show nothing. So this has to be is. And then if I do is here, which kind of, you would think it might make sense. Okay, this ID is this ID. So if I reload again, the home feed works, but then when I go click on a thread, then I get an error. So what I'm going to use instead is filter. So filter where the parent ID, and then you could pass in I guess the query type. So is null. So home page still works, and then we can do filter dot filter ID equals. So basically, it just allows you to pass in the type of query param, or not param, just the type of query, and both of them work. Now with this, I'm actually going to not use this get thread anymore. I'm going to just change everything so we could use posts everywhere. And the way we do that is, since the query is different between each of them, like I'm going to do the ID equals ID. Here, parent ID is null. Everything else is the same. So what we could do is create new parent, or let's create an interface and post props. And we're passing a key and a value. So the key and the value is, the key would be parent ID and the value would be null. For thread, the key would be ID, the value would be the ID of the actual. The key is ID as the string, and then the ID is like some UUID in this case. So what we're going to do is, and then also what we do want to do also, since we're doing filter, each one of these filters, one is using equal and the other one is using is. So let's just do, I was thinking you could either do like type or query. No, I like type. Yeah, we can do type. I think that makes the most sense. And then replace those values and then pass it in. We have to pass it in. We're calling the use post on the component itself. We're going to pass in a key value type. It's going to be on the query key, so it can differentiate between the different types of queries and cache them. And then pass it into get posts. And then, of course, it's going to fail because on our homepage, we're not passing those values in. So what we want to do is do key parent ID value null is type. And then reload. And it works. And then what we want to do also is the threads as well. So wherever use thread is getting called, we want to replace it with use posts. And then it's going to be, what was it? ID equals ID, use thread, sorry. Oh, ID as string. So I had it right. Key equals ID value equals ID from the params, and then type is equals. And then use posts. And then import use posts. Is it use posts or use post? Use posts. An S. Okay. Yes. And then we can remove use thread. And then reload it. And then check to see if it passes in the thread. We do have to change one more thing. We have to change the query. Remember, like I said, in this use thread, it's passing in, okay, so we got star, user ID, and then place. So we got star, user ID. I guess it's fine at the end. It's just, I was trying to copy it exactly. And then place. And then we also have like here. And then we also want to add this sub post to here as well. So let's reload and then try again. Yeah, there we go. And this actually helps us because now that we're doing the sub post, we weren't doing this on the home page before. Now we can actually put a count next to this comment thing. So you could see how many comments each thread has without clicking on it. But first, let's clean up what we have. And honestly, oh, interesting. Just trying to put this on multiple lines because it's getting long, but yeah. Okay, so just to make sure, to be clear of what's going on. Okay. And then we just remove this use thread. It's not doing anything anymore. Make sure we don't have any errors first. Yep. Okay, so then on homepage, let's log to see. So we have image play, flat list. Oh, we want to do in the post view. And then here we could put message circle. Item dot post that length is greater than 0. Item post that length. Yeah, so you can see that this is, I think this is the only post that actually has replies and it's showing a number 2. So let's do page second here. And I forget, honestly, I don't know what it looks like on threads. I don't know what side it's on, but I don't think it really matters either. Is it on this side? I feel like for some reason that looks right, but honestly, I have no idea. There we go. Okay, nice. And let's see. Testy. And then we can see now this one has one comment, and then it shows up. We could change it. You saw that like when we posted it right away, it didn't show the post right away because it didn't call it refetch. So that could be a part of our cleanup as well. But now we have our little icon with how many comments there are. You're more likely to click on it if there's some action going on. Okay, so now let's go to the actual profile, which is what we're supposed to do from the start. And then, so we're going to put this, I keep forgetting this component's all the way up here. So we want to use const data from use post. Let's import our hook. So this one is where the user ID equals user.id. Yeah. So user.id. So we want to make sure it's the user.id instead of the auth user. And then right now I'm just going to be all over post because I guess we only got one user. Oh, there we go. Yep, there's our web post. And then let's loop through them. On home feed, honestly, just copy and paste the same thing. Since this view is already a component, honestly, we might want to move this post view and rename it because view is a terrible name. What was I thinking? And put it in our shared component as well. For right now, let's just get it working though. Put it in our shared component, and it's going to be on threads. So we only want to show it on threads, but right now I'm just going to show it for all of them. The button won't do anything just yet. So post view, screens, tabs, view. Now that this is being shared into multiple components, that's probably when I want to move it to the shared components thing. And then we want to import the same is loading. Remember the cool things we get with TanStack query. Okay, so we got flat list, passing in data, refetched. We got the divider, and then the post view. Yeah. See, that's why components are great. Just works out of the box. Now these things aren't going to do anything just yet because it's just showing the same data. So what we want to do is update this use post query on this click. But first, I'm gonna move this post view and rename it because it is being shared. And of course, this is going to yell at us because it's not. And I do want to rename it to post. So it'll be shared components shared post dash view. And then we got to update it here now. Post. Yeah. Close. Tried to fix it for me, but. And then I think we just got to reload it. And honestly, this thread, I don't know why I put it in home. It should be its own page, just like the rest of these. It doesn't have to be, but just for consistency purposes, because everything else is. Oh, lovely. Screens, tabs, home, thread. Oh, yeah. Sometimes React Native just can't, or the emulator just can't handle all the changes. Especially when you're doing file changes, that's usually when it just completely zonks out on you. Okay, so now I got post view. Honestly, I should probably call this profile, but whatever. So now we got post view being used in 3 or 4 different places, and that's only going to continue. Okay, so now we got thread, we got profile, we got this. So see how it took a second to load right away? But if we do go there again, it won't reload it. So it's just super quick to go back and forth. So that's like part of tan stack query. Okay, so now we want to change to repost as well. So this is the first time doing this query. We haven't done this one yet. So for reposts, we want to, the query is going to be where repost user ID equals, EQ, our user ID, or the user ID. Actually, this is an easy one. The only thing we want to change is this key, because the value is still the same. The type is still the same. So can we get creative here? So maybe instead of enum const tabs equal, maybe we could just do an array of objects. So the name can be, oh yeah, that actually works. I was just going to replace this, but I like that instead. So the name, the value is going to be tabs.threads would be threads. No. So the name is just going to be, let's replace this one. Okay. And then the key, there we go. The key, parent ID, the type is always going to be the same. So parent ID, user ID. Here, the key is going to be, I don't know what this key is going to be, so let's just keep it the same as user ID for now. And then key is a repost user ID, so that's the one we really want. And then let's do, yeah, that makes more sense. Let's reload to make sure that worked. So we have the enum of just making sure that it's consistent with the name. And then we're going to pass in, if this selection changes, we're going to change this key. Let's make sure this works though. Yeah, okay, so now what we have to do is do actually that's a log. It should be tab. And then the default is tabs 0. So we do tab dot name. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right, tab dot name. Set tab is just going to be T. Tab dot normalize. What the hell is that? Okay, so no more TypeScript errors. Console log tab. So see how it gets the key. So the name changes. We're displaying the names up here, but what we really want is tab dot key. And then these two should be the same. And this one should be different. Ayo. Dude, hooks. I love hooks. They're so slick. So see how this is called the same thing and it doesn't reload? It only reloads this section. Okay. That's nice. I did it in a worse way the last time I did this, so I like this method much better. Okay, so then we got threads and reposts. Whenever we figure out what the hell replies are, we can do that one too. That should be an easy update. Let's add some action to this edit profile and share profile page. So for share profile, we're going to use the share functionality, which is actually built into React Native. It doesn't even have to use Expo for that. And then for the edits profile, we're going to use this action sheet, which is it's just super nice. It looks good it works on web, which is cool, but it looks great on mobile as well. And this action sheet is actually what reminded me of, made me think of building threads, because this whole like glue stack stuff looks like threads UI, especially this action sheet. So first thing I'm going to do is let's just create a new file called bottom sheet. We're probably going to want to specify, because we're going to use this a couple different times. We're just going to copy what we have here. And we're going to import use auth, log out. And then we're actually going to handle the action states edit. Let's just call it, let's just export default actually. That's my easy way of not naming things. And then we want to import it into post view, but here in this user, it's going to be bottom sheet. And honestly, it doesn't really matter where you put it, because it's going to overlay all the content. And then I want to move this to, yes, exactly. In here. Default to false, and then pass it in. And that's so we could put the action to this button right here. So it's like set show action sheet to true. Here. Someone's gonna yell at me for something, but that works really easily. Yeah, this we don't need this. So all it does is take in this action sheet, which is all from GlueStack. This is one of the cool features of GlueStack that I added in do any of this. This is already pre-built and it looks nice. And then on logout, you're going to set show action to false and then sign out. Yeah. The reason I say we're probably going to want to rename this is because we're going to use this in a couple different spots, but for right now, it works fine. Let's clean it up. Interface, bottom sheet props. And the cool part is it also makes the background faded away. And then if you press it automatically, it's like keyword avoiding view, it goes down. So I really like that a lot. And then we could add other buttons to this if we want. But for right now, let's just sign out. And then share. We're going to go to the React documentation. And you just have to import it from React Native. And then await share. And then you want to share whatever you want. It'll show the default share modal from whatever device you're on, whether it's Android or iOS. So let's import share. And this is different from the share functionality in Expo because that's sharing a post.app because that's sharing a file between devices. That's a lot more functionality that we don't need yet. We don't have here, so check. Yeah, sure. Share profile. I'm gonna pass it in here. But yeah, okay. Anyway, it works now. So now we got our full profile, edit profile. You can sign out, share profile. There's nothing really to share just yet, unless you send a deep link, which we don't have set up just yet. Then we have our threads. Replies is just the same as threads. And then we have our reposts. So we have most of our functionality for our profile. In the next episode, we're probably going to want to start doing the share sheet invalidated. I don't know what's going on with that share sheet. We're going to want to do like followers and friends and be able to like friend people from here and from here as well. And then be able to show and hide this and actually put functionality to this plus button. So yeah, hope you join me for the next one and see you next time. Peace.